step away from the screen. If you haven't already, it might be time to cut down on screen time, as new research shows blue light is slowly killing our vision. Digital devices like phones or tablets are constantly exposing us to blue light, which cannot be blocked or reflected by the eye's cornea or lens. Photoreceptor cells in the retina rely on molecules called retinal to sense light and trigger the firing of signals to the brain. Simply put, it's what allows people to see. But a new study from the University of Toledo has found that exposing retinal to blue light causes a toxic reaction that kills photoreceptor cells, which are incapable of regenerating. When introduced into other cell types, the retinal molecule produces the same deadly reaction when exposed to blue light, but not with yellow, green, or red light. Alpha-tocopherol, a form of vitamin E, was found to reduce cell damage, but as vitamin levels decrease with age, prolonged blue light exposure may lead to macular degeneration, a leading cause of blindness. Researchers say it's best to limit exposure and avoid looking at devices in the dark. Though if you really can't stay away, at least invest in protective glasses that filter out UV and blue light. Nothing's safe anymore.
Not as harmless as you thought. Doctors in London are warning against the dangers of Nerf guns after at least 3 people suffered serious injuries from getting hit in the eye. Nerf guns are toys that shoot soft foam projectiles. Official replacement bullets are widely available, but generic ones are cheaper. They're also harder and have more potential to cause injury. Nerf video tutorials abound online, with some giving instructions on how to modify the toy gun to make it shoot faster and farther. Patients who were hit in the eye with Nerf projectiles reportedly complained of blurred vision and pain. Doctors later discovered their eyes were inflamed, and blood was pooling in the anterior chamber. Both the cornea and retina had also developed swelling. Fortunately, after being given eye drops, their sight returned to normal in just a few weeks. Such eye trauma may not always lead to permanent vision loss, but could result in a long-term condition like glaucoma. Experts recommend wearing safety glasses to minimize the danger. Nerf manufacturer Hasbro warns people not to aim the guns at people's eyes or face. It's also pretty basic common sense. Still, nothing wrong with being too careful.
Death by caffeine. A South Carolina teen is dead after a combo of caffeinated drinks triggered a fatal heart issue in his normally healthy heart. Davis Allen Kripe collapsed in class on April 26th and died just an hour later. The 16-year-old had consumed multiple caffeinated drinks that day and died from a caffeine-induced cardiac event, otherwise known as abnormal heart rhythm. A healthy adult can safely ingest as much as 400 milligrams of caffeine daily, equivalent to either 4 cups of coffee, 10 colas, or 3 to 5 energy drinks. But for teens, the recommended daily intake is only 100 milligrams. That's a cup of coffee, 3 colas, or 1 energy drink. Caffeine prompts the release of the stress hormone norepinephrine, too much of which can cause rapid or irregular heart rate. Not enough blood is pumped into the body as a result, thus damaging or shutting down the brain and other organs. People who have died from caffeine overdoses also experienced seizures, with some reportedly choking on their own vomit. Caffeine does have certain benefits, and the vast majority consume it with no negative effects. But experts warn it should be taken in moderation, especially for kids and adolescents.
Whatever you do, stay away from this plant. Virginians are being warned to keep their eyes out for the giant hogweed plant, which can cause third-degree burns and even blindness. 30 of the deadly plants were recently found at a site in Clark County, according to Virginia Tech's Massey Herbarium, although they've been known to grow in other states. Giant hogweeds are huge and invasive. They grow up to 14 feet and have sharply lobed leaves, umbrella-shaped white flowers, and hollow, hairy, purple splotched stems. Their sap contains toxins called furanocoumarins, which can make human skin hypersensitive to sunlight. If not washed and covered immediately, the skin can develop itchy, burning blisters with scarring, discoloration, and sometimes persistent sun sensitivity that can last years. The sap has also been known to cause temporary or permanent blindness when it comes in contact with the eyes. Experts strongly advise against taking out the plant with a weed whacker since the sap could splatter and spread. Physical removal or the use of herbicides is a much more effective, not to mention safer option, or just call it in and leave it to the pros. How the flu can knock you out for good. The flu is slamming the U.S. this season and has already claimed the lives of at least 30 children. Although most people do not die from the flu, young children and people with other illnesses such as heart disease, lung disease, and diabetes are at elevated risks. Adults can succumb to the flu in 3 ways: pneumonia, sepsis, and heart attack. A person who is infected with influenza can develop pneumonia, an infection where the air sacs of the lungs fill with fluid or pus. With sepsis, the flu triggers the release of chemicals into the blood to fight infection, which in turn causes inflammation throughout the body. That inflammation can then trigger multiple organ system failure. The flu can also lead to heart attacks. A new study found that a person is 6 times more likely to have a heart attack during the week after being diagnosed with the flu compared to the year before or after the infection. Experts are urging people to go out and get flu shots even though they still may get the flu. Some protection is still better than nothing. Guess nothing beats hand washing. New researchers found that certain germs are becoming more and more resistant to hand sanitizers. Alcohol-based disinfectants are widely used to eliminate germs and have proven effective against reducing infections like those caused by the Staphylococcus bacteria. But a recent study noticed a rise in enterococcal infections, suggesting that the bacteria that causes it may have developed a tolerance to alcohol. Alcohol is believed to kill bacteria by dissolving their cellular membrane, so it was thought that germs and viruses were unable to adapt to it. Researchers analyzed 139 types of bacteria from 1997 to 2015 and found that, on average, those taken after 2009 tolerated alcohol more than pre-2004 strains. Further testing showed that the alcohol-tolerant bacteria appeared in the guts of mice even after their cages were cleaned with sanitizing wipes. Currently, the enterococcus bacteria can only be killed with a 70% alcohol solution, though it's unclear if the bacteria could mutate to tolerate higher concentrations or even build total resistance. The study's authors say this doesn't mean people should give up hand sanitizers altogether, but there's a strong indication washing with soap and water is still the best way to eliminate germs. But dogs are so cute! The Washington Post reports a man's arms and legs were amputated after his dog's saliva caused a blood infection in his body. Greg Mantefel suffered from sepsis, or blood poisoning from the bacteria called Capnocytophagocanamorsis, after it entered his bloodstream from his dog's saliva. Milwaukee Patch reports his wife was quick to rush him to the hospital after he went into septic shock. Apparently, the sepsis caused Mantefel to develop multiple blood spots, which looked like bruises on his chest, face, and the rest of his body. The doctors then tried to stop the infection from spreading with antibiotics. However, that blocked blood flow and caused some tissue and muscles to die. According to the Washington Post, the doctors then amputated his legs from the knee down, as well as his hands. Dr. Sylvia Munoz-Price, an infectious disease specialist, noted that Mantefel had contracted a rare infection and more than 99% of people will never have this issue. According to Milwaukee Patch, Mantefel's wife set up a GoFundMe page after her husband was admitted to the hospital to raise money for his recovery expenses.